Hi there, I'm Matilda Lewis. I'll be reading an excerpt from my novelette, Honey, Blood, and Hellfire, in Bleeding Edge Books' anthology, Strange Echoes. My mother's name means sorrow. A cruel name for a child, to be sure, and a name that haunted her all her life, from the moment she came into the world blind, to the night she suffered my father's embrace, to the moment she bore me alone in the shadows of her blindness. The midwife wouldn't attend to her for fear that she would bring forth a monster. Even my uncle and his wife, who had grudgingly cared for her since the death of my grandparents, chose to spend the night in the barn, bedded down with the goats, rather than help deliver my mother of a demon's child. I still remember the fear in my mother's voice when she told me the story of my birth. I sat in her lap. Her arms were wrapped around me, holding me close as she spoke. Perhaps she worried that I would try to run away if I knew the truth. For a flicker of an instant, I had wanted to. I was afraid that I would have to kill you, my mother sighed against the crown of my head. It made me shudder. But when I held you, I knew I couldn't. I felt your feet for hooves and found little toes. I felt your brow for horns and felt none. Your gums held no sharp teeth, nor did your mouth have a forked tongue. She tightened the circle of her arms around me. I still remember how she smelled, like goatskin and coppery sweat and the wild flowers my aunt left hanging from the rafters to dry. When you cried, my milk came down, and it didn't matter anymore what your father was. She kissed my hair. I felt her chest expand against my back as she breathed in the scent of it. I still remember how her words caught in her throat when she murmured, "You were my baby too." I was only 6 years old and I didn't understand what she meant, but my heart broke for my mother that day. I turned to face her and touch her freckled cheek. Even with her frown and the misting of her cloudy eyes, even with the cross-shaped scar on her forehead from where she'd been branded, my mother was beautiful. No one so beautiful should be so sad, I thought. But for as long as I could remember, my mother had always lived up to her name.